One of the things which is very glaring in India is that in all infrastructure sectors is that growth has preceded infrastructure. And when growth has preceded infrastructure, be it urban infrastructure or you take our roads or ports or airports, there is a huge deficit. There is a huge deficit in our infrastructure sector arising out of this phenomena of growth preceding infrastructure, of growth happening on its own. Now, the ability of government to build, to do capacity building is one huge problem. And I want to share with you an experience which I had where capacity building is concerned in my own district. I was looking at a project, I was inaugurating a project under the UID SMT. And when I went there, I saw it was all rubbish. So I said that, what is this project? I asked the elected municipal councillors. They said they didn't seem to know much about it. They said, let's call the chief municipal officer. And they said, no, he also doesn't know anything. So I said, then who presented this project? And they said, the contractor. So the contractor framed the project. They said, we don't know how to make all these projects. The number of municipalities and smaller municipalities, the Nagar Palikas and Nagar Panchayats, are several times more than the municipal corporations. So everybody is talking of capacity building. But until we look at, I think, a municipal service, a dedicated municipal service, and I'm looking at making it one of the conditions of the next phase of JNNURM, is that we make it that the states must have a municipal service from within their own people. People who can volunteer to be experts in municipal services. Delivery is another very big issue. And I think that unless people are able to touch and taste delivery, we will never see PPP models. When we started the PPP models in road on toll roads, it was said it'll never work, who'll pay toll, nobody's going to pay toll, we'll get no money out of it, there'll be flops. Now, toll roads have taken, BOT has taken over. Because people saw delivery. Even in smaller scales it can work. I represent one of the poorest districts in this country. So I know it from the ground. And I know how politically impossible it will be to charge for water. Saying here, I would say that yes, we should charge for water. When I go to my district, I'll say, forget it. We cannot charge for water because it's not politically palatable. But once we have a delivery system, and we say, okay, it's voluntary, there's a parallel delivery system of water, and those who want it can use that or can use the conventional, whatever is not happening. People will start biting it. Then the efficient use of land resources. This is again something which we need to address because we use our urban land very inefficiently. How do we simplify property taxes on a formula which is absolutely transparent so that municipal corporations and municipalities can have their resource, they can have revenue resource from this. The 4 Ps, the people, private, public partnership. A PPP only works with the 4th P. It doesn't work only with the 3P. Private-public partnership can only work if there is a people partnership also. What happened in JNURM? One of the big flaws was when we gave the first 50%, they didn't do the reforms, they didn't perform, the 50% is gone. Now we had such conditions in the JNURM, which some were workable somewhere, some are not workable anyway. And we need to look at this realistically. So in the JNURM, the Planning Commission has formed a committee, is looking into this. But I proposed in this, we forget this installments business. We go on a loan to grant. You give a loan to the project, and that loan gets converted to a grant as you achieve certain milestones. The other thing which I've suggested is that it should be not state specific. It should be ULB specific. By that I mean that there are certain ULBs who can do it. 50 kilometers away there'll be a ULB who can't do it. So the whole state pays the price for it. So make it ULB specific. I believe that with now the efforts which are being made, both at the level of civil society and institutions, like the Institute of, the Indian Institute of Human Settlements and the Janagraha Center for Citizenship and Democracy, I believe this will get us somewhere. But if we want to go far, we really need to remodel the way we have been doing things. And I'm happy that you are all applying your minds. We got the best minds working on this. But the best minds also need to look at what's happening in not just the Delhis and the Bangalores and the Mumbais and the Chennais and the Kolkatas, but in our 150,000, 200,000 urban areas, the 500,000, 500,000, which are fairly large. And those urban areas, before that starts overtaking us with this big shift which is taking place from rural India to urban India, and with a young age profile, there is much more mobility. India with a young age profile has a huge mobility. The youngsters have huge mobility to move from place to place. This is another big change which is taking place. That the demographic factor we should talk about has started kicking in. And it's kicking in different ways. And one of the ways is this mobility, which is happening into urban local bodies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. I was very pleased to hear about the kinds of ideas you're discussing for JNUM too, especially ideas like going directly to the ULBs. I think that's a very interesting notion, and I think it can trigger something larger in terms of recognition of urban local bodies. But I've been listening to these discussions all day today and the last few days, and everybody seems to agree that there is one thing that needs to happen, is that urban governance needs to change, and this amendment that everybody thinks is the right one needs to get implemented. I just wanted to hear from you whether there's going to be any push in that direction, or whether we're going to just skirt around that issue because it's politically not really feasible.
You know, you come to the panchayats, the amendments, the constitutional amendments for our panchayats. That has not happened at the implementation level. It's been rolled back in some states, including in my state. I don't see it happening in a hurry, and that's the honest answer. And governance is just not governance of the elected people. They're not supposed to know it. You know, I'm not elected to know anything about urbanization, okay? Let's be clear, I know nothing about urbanization. What I know is what I've heard and what I've tried to study. I'm no expert on this. So that is one governance, but I'm saying there is no municipal service. If that is there, if there is officers there, there's a service cadre there, they can assist. They can assist the political leadership